Well, if you own a business, you already know that trying to start and grow a business is probably one of the most difficult things that any human can do. If you haven't yet started your business, you're going to learn pretty soon. So this video is to give you a couple of pointers and starters to hopefully help you as you get started with your business, but also if you're in that early swampy stage of kind of the $0 to $2 million a year in turnover part of the world, part of the business world, it's an absolute nightmare getting through that process. And so years ago, I fundamentally understood there was going to be a huge amount of work to take me from being just myself and one employee, and that until I got to about the 10 employees mark, that the business had grown to that point, I just knew that that was going to be just a big mess because I wouldn't really know what I was doing. We wouldn't have the size to really be stable, and that middle ground was just going to be very hard. And I was right. The information also came from coaches and mentors and other things that I had put together and learnt over time, a lot of stuff that I'd learnt online as well. I wanted to distill a bunch of that down for you guys so that hopefully you can skip through that as quick as possible. So number one, and this I believe comes from either Kevin O'Leary or Robert Herjavec. I can't remember who said it, but the comment is, sales cures all. What that means is you need to know how to sell and you need a mechanism to sell. If you're relying just on word of mouth and other people basically selling their friends on your behalf, you're not going to grow your business. Now, when you get larger, the amount of referrals that you get, because it's probably about, if you've got a good referral relationship with your clients, you might get 1 in 5, 1 in 10 people refer you somebody else. And it can be, depending on your business type, it can be a long cycle before Bob over here mentions it to Mary down the road and that she's in a position to actually come and pay you for whatever the services or product is that you have. So referrals are good, and once you have a certain volume, they become a really useful tool. When you're starting out, it's a lot harder. So you're stuck in this position now where you've probably heard a lot about, referral and word of mouth is the best way to grow a business. Not actually true. When you're starting out, you have to realize nobody knows you exist. A particular area that I lived, it's probably, the area probably has a population of around, let's call it 20,000 people, 20 to 30,000 people. In that area, there was an electrical contracting company that had been in the area for 30 plus years. Now, if you're in the trade space, you probably knew exactly who this was. The amount of people that I had spoken to who were either clients of ours or just people in general who would bring up, I'm looking for a particular kind of contractor. And I would say, this company over here does it. Who are they? Now, this is a company that has been in an area of only 20 to 30,000 people. They've been there 30 years. This other person in that local community had no idea they existed. And that's in a little microcosm. And you're putting stuff out most likely online to the internet, to the world at large, and you think because you've got a bit of content out there that people know you exist. They don't. Unless you have an advertising budget of around maybe $10,000 a month or more, your big players out there are putting $100,000 or more a month into advertising. Some of them are doing well over that per platform. I say that to let you realize how small a scale you are probably at in letting people know that you exist. If people don't know you exist, they can't connect with you to purchase whatever it is that you have. Most people underestimate how much reach they actually have. The other thing that you've got to understand, if you're reaching out trying to get the word out to the wider world about you and the fact that you and your business exist, recognize that there is what they call touch points. The amount of time somebody has to trip over you by accident before it kind of becomes conscious in their mind of like, hey, there's that person, I should go talk to them. Back in the day of print media, of newspapers and ads in newspapers and that kind of thing, it was about 4 to 6 touch points. Currently, because of the world that we live in, especially digital media and social media, the touch points now are about 22. meaning somebody has to basically be exposed to you via ads or content or word of mouth or this or that about 22 times on average before they actually cognitively recognize that you actually exist and that they should do something about it. That's a lot. So it means that not only do you need to get out to new people, you've got to keep getting out in front of them to be relevant and for it to pop up and make sense to them. So all of that to be said, if you're under 2 million a year in turnover, or if you're just starting a business, realize you're going to have to do a lot more work than you think to be able to get it in front of enough people. Now, part two of that, just getting out in front of people and getting on social media and doing whatever is not useful just on its own. You need to have a purpose and a focus for what you're doing. So if you're putting ads out, make sure you call out pretty clearly who it is that you're speaking to. So are you this kind of person? Do you have this particular problem? Or we are, great at this particular thing, but we don't service these people over here. So be clear about who you can help and who you can't. Start putting that into a lot of your content, not just your paid ads, and it will start to become the identity, and people will self-select as to whether they align with that idea of who you are over here, or whether they go, no, I'm going to move over this way because I don't identify as the people they can help, so I'll go somewhere else. Now, you may think, oh, I just want everyone to come to me and that gives me more opportunity to sell to people. It really doesn't. It's going to waste your time. If people are already, if you said, I can help these people, but I can't help these people. If these people end up over here and you're spending time talking to them, they're still going to go that way, but you've now just wasted time and effort talking to them for no reason. You're better off just getting a larger group of the right kind of people and talk to all of them. So this becomes a numbers and volumes game for you. And so there are a couple of things that you can do. If you're just starting out and you don't have big budgets to put into ads, now, when I say big budgets, people think $20 a day on an ad campaign on Facebook is a big budget. It's not. You need to start at probably about $100 a day as your ad spend so that you can actually get some kind of traction. Under that, you're kind of playing in what we would call testing budgets, where you can run a particular version of one ad and put $10 a day behind that as the ad, just to see how it goes for a week or two. Do 6 or 7 of those ads and just see which one performs better. That's a testing budget, and that's still, if you put 7 of those out, that's $70 a day. Once you've got an ad or two that's working, you build a campaign on $100 to $200 a day. That's about where your advertising budget should be so that you can get some good results. Under that, you'll get a little bit of results, but it really becomes a little bit inefficient when you're right down in that like $10 to $20 a day range. It's really not going to do a great deal for you. So that's just a side note. If you don't have you're not making enough money to actually put money into paid ads, the other way that you're going to need to approach this is you need to get out to as many people who you already know, friends, family, people up the street. The other thing you can do is door knock if you're allowed. Literally walk the street, knock on the door and introduce yourself. Hey, I'm new to the area, or I'm just starting a new business in the area. I know that you might not be interested. I'm literally just walking up and introducing myself to as many people as possible. Just wanted to let you know we existed. Here's a little flyer I've got. If that's anything you're interested in the future, maybe we can help. Thanks for your time. Off to the next one. You'll be surprised how many people will give you a go just because you went and made an effort, because that's rare these days. The other thing, so that's going to give you some traction. That's a free version, paid ads. Obviously put money in, get in front of more eyeballs. You can do it on a larger scale, but it's going to mean that you're going to have to outlay money. So there are a couple of things you can do. There's a ton of other things that you could do. Yeah, local markets, advertising on like big advertising on vehicles, billboards, that kind of thing isn't overly effective anymore because we are so bombarded with advertising in front of us that we kind of, as a society, have learned how to switch off from advertising. So you've got to do something that kind of gets in people's face a little bit, but in a polite enough way that you don't offend people, but stand out enough that it resonates with them and they kind of go, oh, hang on a sec, that kind of spiked my interest. Maybe I'll listen a little bit more. Without getting into the entire content side, Figuring out how to get people involved in what you're doing and to align with what you're doing is advertising. It's making known to the world that you exist and you provide a particular solution to a particular problem. If they have that problem, they now know you can provide the solution. If that aligns and they like you, they will call. So that's the basics of advertising. So once you get more people in, you're going to run into the next bunch of hurdles. You need a way to organize that information. You need to be able to accurately stay on top of calling people on time. Make sure you've got some kind of a booking system. You've got some way to be able to make sure that all of your inquiries are dealt with. This is where a CRM, which is a customer relationship manager, there's a lot of softwares out there that will do it. Something like that is going to bring all of that data in, organize it in a nice orderly fashion so you don't lose any of that contact information. Then there are things like automated emails. So you can have it that when somebody makes an inquiry off your website, or you enter it, or however you collect that data, that it sends them an automatic email to say, thanks very much, we got your inquiry. Our team will be in touch with you shortly. And then it ends up on a list for you to call the person, have a conversation, or however you want to run it. Now, there's a million ways you can do it. The main thing I want you to grasp from this is you need a way to be able to collect all of the information of people who are contacting you so that you, in your limited capacity, can get back to and call each of those people, and you don't have people disappear out the back door because you forgot to call them because it was a week later and all the rest. If you don't respond to people quickly, if you don't keep your appointments and you don't show up on time, you are going to lose credibility very fast. So that becomes a huge priority, to make sure that you're getting to people on time and do whatever you say you're going to do. So if you say, I'll call you back tomorrow, and then you don't, people are going to go, hey, this person can't be trusted even with a phone call. Why would I trust them with my business? So you need to be on top of that side of it. Then you get into the delivery of whatever your service is. So you need to make sure that you have a way to be able to handle the increase in traffic. A lot of people look at it and say, if I just had more customers, I will make more money because I just don't have enough customers right now. The problem with that, if you haven't broken down your entire business to the point of what we call unit level economics, which is breaking it all the way down to a single unit of whatever it is that you do, and you obviously or most likely got multiple things that you do, but knowing of each one, how much time goes into it. How much advertising do you need to do on average to get another customer that buys one of those units? You need to look at, what are your raw costs? What kind of markup have you got? What is your net profit? What is your gross profit? And then what is your net profit? So gross profit is whatever the thing costs minus whatever it costs to produce and deliver that. So let's say at a very simple level, a t-shirt. So let's say that you're going to buy the t-shirt for $5 and you're going to print a sticker onto it that's going to cost you another $5, and then you're going to sell that for $20. So $20 is your sale price. Once you take out the $5 for the t-shirt and the $5 for the printing, you have $10 in costs. So your $20 minus your $10 leaves you with $10 of gross profit. This is where people get it all mixed up normally. Gross profit is before you've accounted for wages, rent, electricity, vehicle costs, bulk freights, your printer that prints the t-shirts or whatever it is, the raw materials that go into that. By the time you break down all of that cost, take all of that cost out of your gross profit, after you've accounted for your entire business expenses out of that gross profit, what is left at the end of the month or end of the year, that is your net profit. Most businesses have almost none or negative in net profit. Now, part of that is maybe you just don't have enough customers. Maybe there is enough profit, you have enough capacity to be able to actually deliver more product or more service. You're just not busy enough. And if you had more people, then your economics may actually improve to the point that you're making good money. As a base rule, if you can aim for it, if you can get your net profit to break even on 50% capacity of your business, in other words, you and your team are only working 50% of the time, And at that point, you can cover all of your business operating costs, pay all of your wages, but there's no money left over at the end for the business, but you also have no debt at the end of that. If you can operate at that, it means from that 50% up becomes where your profit sits. And that is a fairly easy thing to fix. If you're in a business where everybody's already busy and your net profit after you've provided all the costs for the product, after all your business operating costs, that there is still no money left and you're all flat out, that is not a more customer problem, that is a business model problem. And I've been there. I've had to rebuild my entire business model more than once to fix certain things. And so it's a big thing to have to go back and revamp your entire business model. Where this tends to bite really hard is in the trades and services space, which is where my main business is. Reason being is that there is a whole culture that says we need to create products at a, we buy it at a particular price, we put a certain percentage markup on it, and we kind of have an industry standard of roughly how much we can charge for labor, and that's it. We can't do anything more than that. And so no matter how much more work we get in, we've still only got these pretty thin margins that we need to run on, and what do you do? Now, the reason I bring this up is an industry I'm very familiar with, and I will give you the answer that took me a long time to figure out, so I'm going to try and fast track it for you. The answer is you don't charge based on materials plus markup and hourly rates. What you do is you look at the job, you can go through your sheet and you can go, okay, it's going to cost us this much. We need to know what our actual costs are going to be to service and fulfill on that job. Then you need to look at, realistically, what you need to make on the job for it to be profitable for you, so you have gross profit left at the end. This is probably the better part of taking a week out of your life to map all of this out in your business. It sounds absolutely daunting, but it's the only way you're going to save your business if you actually know what your costs are and you can actually map this out financially. Otherwise, you're flying blind, and there's a good chance you're working for free, or worse, you're actually losing money when you go and work as hard as you do. So it's worth fixing this. Once you work out what you need to make out of that job, you then put in your line items. It's going to be these things. These are all the things we're going to put into the job. We're going to allow 2 days on site. Don't put it in hours. 2 days on site. I would break it down into hours at minimum, or I would simply say labor, not put a unit price. But you just do them all as unpriced items. So you have line items, don't price them. You have one price at the bottom. The reason for this is you're going to get stuck trying to justify each of those line item prices. And it's very hard to then, let's say we're talking electrical, and you've got a PowerPoint and you're using good quality gear. So it's going to cost you, let's say, $15 to buy the PowerPoint, or $12 to buy the PowerPoint. Now somebody can go to Bunnings and buy one for $13. Really, to make margin on that, you're probably going to need to charge $18 to $20 for the PowerPoint. If you write that on there, you're going to get kickback from the customer saying, but I can buy my own PowerPoints from Bunnings for $13. I'll just provide my own. Now you're in the fight with the customer and you're trying to work to a dollar margin, and it's just a horrible position to be in. So make it part of your standard operating procedure for your business that you will give them a line item quote and a single figure. If they want to argue with the figure because they want to know what every single item is worth, the only reason they're doing that is because they're going to try and cut all your margins out, which means they're asking you to go to work to lose money. That's not why we get out of bed. That's not why we do our best work, is so we can work for free. We can't feed our families. We can't take care and build the life that we want. We can't take care of our employees if there's no money left to take care of them. I did this for a lot of years, thinking that I was helping people, until I realized that I was destroying my family, because at the end of the year, there was nothing left for me and my family. I had let all of my profits be eaten up thinking I was helping other people, when the way I was helping other people was that I was providing a skilled service that they couldn't get elsewhere, or couldn't get it to the level that I could, or they couldn't get it at the time that I could do it, and I was their best option. So you've got to shift your mindset around pricing That's going to be your first big one. After you fix pricing and fix business modeling, and you can actually make money every time you go to work, and you fixed advertising to be able to get people into your business and get to more people and get more customers, then you've got the retention side, which is making sure you capture all that data, you deal with people in a timely manner, you do what you say you're going to do, and then you can actually deliver on the product. You have the people that can go to the job, or you have the product manufacturing, or whatever it is to be able to deliver on the product. That is going to get you to a base level where your business is sustainable. And that is your first massive milestone of, I now have an actual business that is sustainable. Now, I'm not going to dive into it in this video, but we'll have another conversation around the difference between being self-employed and having a business, because they're two very different things. You can be self-employed with 50 employees. You can still be self-employed. We'll dig into that later. For this one, I think we'll wrap it up there. I think that's going to give you a good framework to sort of see what it takes to get a business to that first minimum viable level. And maybe in that, you've already identified there are some areas where, maybe you haven't quite thought about that, or you haven't got that part figured out. If there are any particular parts of that business process I've just laid out that you're really struggling with, drop me a comment down below. More than happy to try and answer it in a reply. If I can't answer it in a reply, I may actually do a whole video to answer your question. And I'll reference your question in the reply if that's the case. Because some of the questions that will come up are most likely going to require bigger answers. So I'll do a video for them. But I hope this has helped. I'd love to know your thoughts and comments down below. And until we talk again, take care.